Hi there, and welcome to this episode. Today we're diving deep into a question that almost every English learner faces at some point. How do you start thinking in English? Instead of constantly translating everything in your head, it sounds simple enough, right? Just think in English. But if you've ever tried it, you know it's easier said than done. Because here's the thing, our minds love the familiar. And for most learners, thinking in their native language is what's comfortable, what feels safe. So how do you break out of that habit? How do you make English not just a language you study, but a language that becomes a part of your natural thought process? Well, first, I want you to imagine this. Think about how you learned your native language as a child. You didn't start by memorizing grammar rules or doing vocabulary drills. You started by hearing words in context. Your parents pointed to a cat and said cat. They gave you a cup and said cup. And slowly, those sounds started forming pictures in your mind. When you heard the word apple, you didn't see the letters APPLE in your head. You saw an apple. That's what thinking in English is really about. Connecting words directly to experiences, feelings, and images instead of translating them back to your native language. One of the most powerful ways to start this process is by immersing yourself in English as much as possible. And I don't just mean watching TV shows or listening to podcasts. I mean creating opportunities where your brain has to respond in English. For example, when you're walking down the street, try narrating your thoughts in English. Describe what you see. The sky is cloudy today. There's a red car parked near the coffee shop. Don't worry about being perfect. Just get the words flowing. Another thing you can do is ask yourself simple questions throughout the day. What time is it? What am I going to eat for lunch? How do I feel right now? And then answer those questions in English, even if it's just in your head. The key is to make this a habit, not just a practice you do once in a while. Your brain is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Now let's talk about vocabulary. One mistake a lot of learners make is focusing too much on big, fancy words. But here's the thing. Native speakers use simple language most of the time. Instead of learning obscure words, focus on mastering the basics. Learn phrases and expressions that people actually use in everyday conversations. And when you learn a new word, don't just memorize its translation. Try to use it in different sentences. Imagine situations where you might need that word. Another powerful technique is visualization. Let's say you learn the word sunset. Close your eyes and picture the most beautiful sunset you've ever seen. Feel the warmth of the colors. Hear the sounds of the evening settling in. Connect that image to the word sunset so that it becomes second nature. Now, let's address something that might be holding you back. The fear of making mistakes. So many learners get stuck because they're afraid of saying something wrong or sounding silly. But guess what? Making mistakes is how you learn. Think about it. When you were a kid learning your native language, you made mistakes all the time. You called things by the wrong name. You mixed up words, and no one laughed at you or told you to stop talking. You just kept going until you got it right. The same goes for English. The only way to get better is to practice, make mistakes, and learn from them. Now here's a fun exercise you can try. Pick an object in your room, like a chair or a book. Then describe it in as much detail as possible in English. What does it look like? What color is it? How does it feel when you touch it? This might feel awkward at first, but the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. And speaking of natural, let's talk about conversations. One of the best ways to start thinking in English is by talking to yourself. I know that sounds strange, but hear me out. When you're alone, have little conversations with yourself in English. Pretend you're explaining something to a friend or telling a story. It doesn't matter if no one's listening. The point is to get your brain used to forming thoughts in English. If you can find a language partner, even better. But if not, don't let that stop you. Now, I want to leave you with this thought. Thinking in English isn't about perfection. It's about connection. Connecting words to experiences, connecting your thoughts to the language, and ultimately connecting with other people. So start small. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate the little wins, like the first time you describe your morning routine entirely in English, or the first time you catch yourself thinking, "What should I have for dinner?" without translating it first. These moments matter. They're signs that your brain is starting to make that switch. And remember, language is a journey, not a destination. Enjoy the process. Embrace the mistakes. And most importantly, keep going. Thanks for spending this time with me. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give it a thumbs up. Also, feel free to share your thoughts or any questions you have in the comments below.